This is one of the most important chapters in this course. Do not forget this one, because there's nothing worse than seeing a website that is broken on mobile view because you've been editing and updating on desktop view mode only. And also, this is not just a one-stop solution to fix mobile issues. If you create a new page, you're probably going to have some structural tweaks and changes to make. So the first point is, if you're going to save a section of your site as a favorite using this option here, you need to make sure that you've tested it, or I strongly recommend that you test it on mobile before doing so. Otherwise, you're going to have to fix all the mobile issues on every single page that you duplicate. So that's the first tip to take away. But if we jump over to mobile view on this page, we can see that there are a number of issues with spacing. Nothing too tragic, but we can see the Contact Us button is above this section here. Squarespace doesn't know quite where to organize everything, but thankfully, it's given us the power to be able to fix it. So I can't move this section up because this text block is too big at the moment. So I can move that text block to make it smaller. And now I can start reducing the height of that header block to make the content sit up better. This flow is fine. I quite like the image above the text in this case on mobile view, but I might just drag that down a block just to make it easier to read with some nice spacing in between each. This is where we come on to our first real design issue. As we can see here, the spacing between each of them isn't quite right. So what we're going to look to do is to get a match. So if we're going to line up two spaces between each one, that's what we're going to do. Also, the bottom of that block is tighter than that one. So if I just move that up one, yeah, I think we've got the spacing that we want then. So they're all aligned to the top, but for some reason, and I've not seen this before, this section here has more space at the bottom of the container than this does. So we're going to have to park that for now and fix the glaring issues, and I may have to have another look at that again when I've got a little bit more time to troubleshoot. After so many hours of using this was the first time this has cropped up for me. Hopefully it won't for you. As you can see here, I'm selecting multiple blocks at the same time. This will just save time to edit this going forward. So if you select everything below, we're just creating more space for ourselves as we separate each block in this section. And what we can also do now is just increase the width of that button. So the call to action works really well. Okay, as we can see, there's too much space there between 2002 and 2005. This is why I was saying at the start of this chapter that you need to do this before you duplicate any section, because if you wanted this effect on multiple pages, what you don't want to do is have to make these changes to the structure on mobile on multiple pages, because it's not the most exciting use of your time. There's still that gap between 2008 and 2010. That's really annoying me. I think what I would end up doing is just delete that, copy the content into a new block, and it would probably fix it that way. Now I'm going to press save. And the spacing is not perfect, so I'm not sure what's happened exactly. As I said, I'll look into it and I'll give an update on a later chapter if that fixes it. But at least this is looking better than it was before. We don't have overlapping sections, and it's functional, if not perfect. As we jump back to desktop view then, it shouldn't affect any of the layout on desktop view at all. So we can see here that text blocks have all varying heights. So it could be that by fixing them here means that we fix them elsewhere. But I've actually come to the conclusion, I think I know what it is. These text blocks here, this row, when we have an extra row, spans over the columns, over the grid blocks. And by doing that, it just throws everything out when we stack them vertically. So there might be ways around that and how to fix it. One option would be to put these in cards, or to remove the grid spacing altogether and use full grid widths. That would do it. So I'll just show you how to do that. At the moment we've got gaps there, we can just make it 0 gaps, which means that we've got a little bit of work to do. And what I'm doing now is just bringing these in 1 column each so that there's wider spacing between each of these content blocks. I'm doing the same with the one on the right then, so that they all have the same width. So by doing this, what we're doing now is hopefully evening up the spacing vertically on mobile. So if I press save, the changes I've made in the width won't affect mobile, but what will do is the grid size. So we can see now that there's an obvious difference between them. So again, if I snap it down, say 2 grid sizes in between each, that will, if not perfect, will hopefully make it more uniform. It's still not perfect, but it is looking better than it was before. I think that's more acceptable now as a solution. So as with everything, Squarespace and other software as well, there's a degree of trial and error. It doesn't always work perfect on every application, but this is essentially what we're looking to do with Mobile View. We can also go back in and stack things. If you wanted to edit it in Mobile View, you could put this text in a colored block, and I'll show you how to do that now. But this would affect both the desktop and mobile version. So I put that in a block, and then you could overlap it on top of the image if you wanted quite an interesting effect. And that's exactly what I've done on Mobile View. But if we do this on mobile, be ready for it to impact the desktop view as well. So you see now that it's in a grey content block. The color of the block will adjust depending on your color pack that you choose in the style for this individual section. So you may like that effect. You may prefer it where it was on the white background. I'm going to leave it at that for now. And that's how we can take a layout that we've added from scratch, or we've edited an existing site and changed the structure, to take that over to mobile, and how we can update it and maintain it on mobile so we have a nice fluid experience across different screen sizes. And on the note of fluid, we're going to be spending the next chapter looking at Fluid Engine in more detail and how you can navigate it to maintain existing web pages.